Good morning. We're in the middle of a test campaign here, and today you're going to see the combination of basically tactical decision wargaming session with, at the same time, concurrently a Steel Beast simulation tank session, and how we are trying to fit these two together into the whole campaign narrative. The strategic forces here are that the Red Four are attempting to cut off Arnland from NATO support and have launched an attack from Arnland with Russian forces in an attempt to overwhelm the country. The enemy has attacked across the entire frontier using mechanized forces, artillery, and deep strikes. They've also landed a paratrooper brigade in an attempt to secure the bridges over the Osco River in order to facilitate further movement to the south and to the west. Blue forces were caught more or less off guard and are struggling to mobilize their forces and get them to the front. So there's a little bit of a piecemeal approach to them getting their units into the fight. One company, 3281, has struck Volsjo in the center and actually recaptured the town and the bridges over the river. The battalion commander has opted to release a second company, as the second company 281, north to establish a blocking position near Ostrobo and prevent the enemy from pushing further west. It's going to be another 3 or 4 hours after that before the full bulk of both battalions are ready to launch a counterattack into the enemy invasion.
The idea there, as Nike briefed, is we don't want Volsjo to become enveloped. We don't want to lose this company. But again, Red 4 is considering that. They're going to hit Volsjo with everything they have. I'm trying to think what else. So they will have artillery support as well. They will have potentially air support. So about a 20% chance that Heinz will show up again. The Red 4 commander is throwing everything into this attack. He's not fucking around. He wants to crush Volsjo. He wants to crush the Arnland defenders at Volsjo. And he wants to continue to move his tempo, right? He's going to maintain tempo. He wants to continue to seize his objectives so that the brigade can continue pushing.
We pushed out a Russian paratrooper company. They got hit by their own friendly airstrike to the south. So Volsjobi is in enemy hands as well.
And
just from RP standpoint.
Yeah, so they're going to probe you from Volsjobi as well. So you might experience dismounted probes from the south.
We do believe that the mission of the enemy, overall mission of the enemy attack, is to establish a solid bridgehead over the Osco River. So that's why they can't allow Volsjo to remain in our hands.
Looking at my notes, about 15 minutes until you make contact with the main body, the first echelon of the main body. And what we think is most likely course of action is that they will attack with one company from the north and one company from the east simultaneously. They're going to move their third mech. Well, let me rewind 1 second. So they have 3 companies, but those companies are reinforced with tanks, right? It's because they have that 4th tank company. So you expect a mech infantry company reinforced with tanks on both of those red axes that you see there. They also have a weapons platoon that's going to support them from somewhere, maybe some high ground position somewhere. But expect to be hit simultaneously with 2 companies around 15 minutes. And then shortly after that, about 5 minutes after that, a 3rd company will hit you from the north or the east, depending on what they think.
So that would be, exactly. Given the weapon ranges, I would say to around Northing 73. And that incidentally also makes sense, whereas the tactical move would cross 3 kilometers in about half an hour and advance the contact less because they're doing it in a tactical manner.
Okay, yeah. So this will be like the 1 hour mark.
Yeah.
All things being equal.
And once they reach
cautious.
Yeah, and once they reach phase line 2, which then becomes, then they should prepare to go into the attack vicinity Ostrava, hopefully. We have a little bit of recon. They will be able to give us at least some concept of where the enemy is.
Okay.
And given that we're advancing to contact, we're coming into the range at the Northing 73, where our surveillance and engagement technical, so our sights and whatnot should be able to start spotting the enemy, hopefully.
The last known position of the enemy west of the river was where this red circle was.
Yeah, I know.
So, like,
We're gonna aim just to the east of Ostrava, so to the east
along
of
A13 or
yeah, but without going, we're basically going to straddle Alpha 1-3. I would rather that we sort of pest a little bit to the west and then reorient east. In other words, what I don't want to get is getting caught between the airborne company in Franinge, to the west of that, with then potential, enemy recon assets and whatnot coming down the Delta 41. In other words, I don't want to be squeezed. So I'd rather that we squeeze them east towards Fanninge rather than getting caught and being greedy and trying to just destroy them in place by bisecting them between Fanninge and Oslo.
So you want to be to the east of the A13, or you want to be to the west of it?
I basically straddling it.
Okay. Do you want to stay on advance to contact during the move? Basically, there's two types of combat here. There's fire combat, and then there's assault. Assault requires an attack order. Advance to contact allows you to, basically fire and do combat and stuff like that, and also gives you advantage to scouting.
Yeah. Okay. That's what we'll do.
When you get up here, then you could determine.
And phase line 3 will then be the MSR Delta 41.
Okay.
So there's no real need for phase line 3 because Delta 41 is phase line 3.
Yeah. So you should be up there sometime around 11:30.
Yeah, that would be my guess. So the first jump is 3 kilometers, then 2 and 2. It should be.
Okay, well, let's do it then. So basically, and I know where the reds are. So basically, you guys get to hear more or less. It's 10:30. It's okay. Things are going good. You do hear. We're within a few kilometers of Fuljo, so you do hear cracks of explosions and fighting to the northeast.
Yeah, we have to surmise and expect that that the guys in Volsho will be doing their job. We have to do ours. So although it's unpleasant, then we'll just have to cross fingers and hope that they don't get dead.
Now, you are going to be moving up beyond Voljobi, so is there anything that we need to worry about here?
Well, I have ATGM, so let's in the move from northern 70 to basically 72. Let's go to the west of Alpha 1-3, just to keep our cells out of the range of any ATGMs they might have brought. And also, if possible, it would be nice for the enemy airborne units in Volsjörbo not to spot us, so as to warn their friends vicinity finding it.
So you have you actually have a 3-gun 155 battery available.
Yeah.
You could throw smoke out, or if you wanted to, or.
Yeah, let's drop a combined smoke and HE mission right on them.
On the city, in the town? That might be a little low.
But I didn't see any town at Volsjörbo. I understand that the name means the city of Volsjörbo.
There's some buildings here. I won't zoom in too much, but there's a scattering. It's like a village, but it has the dubious advantage of having 2 bridges over it. So,
is it evacuated though?
Unknown.
Okay,
again,
then that's then. Yeah, okay. Then we'll put down a smoke mission to the west of it. We can't. Can't start killing our own people. So no HE, just smoke. But smoke is white phosphorus. So calling it smoke is a nice euphemism for what it really does.
Okay, so it's coming up on 11 o'clock, and we have gotten to phase line 2 without contact yet.
Yeah. At this point, we're spreading out in a tactical formation, preparing to meet the enemy and engage with the enemy. In other words, we're spreading out from column to dispersed formation, so combat formation.
Now, keep in mind, like an hour or two ago, last Sunday's mission occurred. So like, we did have scouts up through here clearing this area, even though we don't know it. But they if you
Ah,
recall,
okay, good point. Because yeah,
right,
the
this is the
times
location
are
of that. Yeah, this is the
yeah the
location of the
times
Sunday.
are really a little bit confusing to me. All right, we'll keep pushing towards Ostrabe or Ostrabe or however you want to pronounce it.
Okay, so are we going to go on the east side of the road now, or yeah?
Now, so we'll go to the west of this road because that incidentally also gives us the ability to use that forested area to our north as a cover as we move into the attack. So hopefully flank them from the west going towards the east with the I can barely see it, but there seems to be like a hilled forested area to the east of Ostrabe.
This
Yeah,
yeah, right there.
yeah, no, further east to the east of
This
Alpha
here.
13. Yeah. So my plan is that we're gonna come into that from the west and then swing east and hit the enemies. Hopefully, where we have a little bit of cover, it should be well within the range of our optics as well as our weapon system. Yeah, exactly. And if they are there, they're in a bad tactical position, whereas we are in a better tactical position.
Okay. As you cross, as you get to right about here, just at the D41, you run into some civilians that have just left, have just come from the east, and they report that the enemy, there is enemy tanks and vehicles, in fact, in the vicinity of this red battle position.
Yeah.
And I mean, I guess like from a role-playing thing, I would like talk a bit more about this. But essentially, let's just say that your scouts are smart enough to at least ask like how many vehicles are. They said they're tanks. They may or may not be tanks, but
Yeah,
you
but I
get
mean,
information to know that it's like a
we're in the
company-sized element.
21st century, so it'll take
Right.
all of 30 seconds to open your smartphone, which is not good from an EW perspective, but just show them a few pictures of
Well,
tanks and whatnot.
right, and that's true, and they might even done too. But essentially, the key thing here is you determine it looks like it's about a company-sized position right there.
Yeah, and that matches the intel we got, so that's our target.
The fighting is more intense, so firing is more intense in the Voljo area. Otherwise, in the vicinity of where you are, it's kind of quiet. So, all right, so you get to the main road at 11:30.
Yeah, and then I array the company into a company battle formation, obviously oriented east. I prepare to call down a combined smoke and I mean, if we have optics, there's no reason for me to roll into the attack pell mell and hand to hand. That would be pretty stupid, as our optics and thermals are far
This
better
is
than
this
theirs.
is where it would be good. Like if I had another copy of, I mean, I could have started Seal Beast, and we could have right-clicked and done a vision. Like here's what it looks like from your position.
Yeah,
And you
but I
say,
mean,
but
yeah, from what I can see, it looks like the area to the east of Ostrabe is higher ground than the area where the enemy is indicated.
there's time
Uh,
now for you to throw out your camcopter.
yeah, let's do that. Yeah, I forgot completely that we had a camp to go to list.
All right, let me up the
And just
rules.
from a role-playing perspective, since we got the range with the camcorder, I want the recon guys to move it to the south and then press north. In other words, make it look like it comes from Volsche and not from our side,
Good
so
idea.
as to
All
not,
right.
yeah.
All right, let me do this then. Let me find the rules here for spotting. Here they are. So essentially, I have to roll a d10. Let me get my dice roller up. Um, okay. So basically, I'm looking at this. The range is, first of all, we can spot with we can spot with the troops to see what you see, and I'm gonna look at and see that both sides are gonna spot. Actually, you know what? You're gonna spot at 1 kilometer because you are using the camcopter, and the other guys will spot with what's that range would we say here? It looks like it's
Well, just building on the normal Russian kit, their optics are not optimal. Their weapon systems, and I'm talking about the tanks, maximum effective range, maximum of 3 kilometers, and they can't really see much of anything at that range. That's not to say that they can't buy better glasses. It's just that I would
Okay,
say effective range usually for Russian kit is about in 2 kilometer range,
so
unless they have
basically,
something more modern.
using lower is better. It's a D10. It's -1 because we're using an ISTAR asset, which is the camcopter. We're spotting it to a named area of interest, target area of interest, which I would say that plus, particularly since you got information from the civilians, that's another -1. And you're on
Yeah, and
advanced
plus it
contact.
also follows up to the original
Right.
intel we had following the Battle of Volscia.
So it's going to be -3 on a D10. So now I'm going to roll here, and then that roll is going to be, hold on, what's going on here? Put this in there, and then, so it's a 6 -3, so you get a 3. And green means you've spotted 80%. So unit, info, type, subunit, formation, general activity. So basically I can go and I can put out something like this.
We're taking fire here.
So this gives you the relative strength. You can see you're 22, they're 10, and they seem to be in good position, and they're on the hill. They're oriented in your direction. Let me roll for them and see what they get. 10. That's a terrible roll.
No, I think it's an excellent roll. Keep rolling like that.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so that's going to be a. This would help if I just had everything printed out. But black. Let's see. 10. Was there anything? Spotted player. Sighting player has nothing. No advantages. And the spotted player. You're in woods and terrain +1, so you got an 11. So that's actually black, which means they have a set presence. It means that they're aware of their presence in your area. This is something really I would be giving to the red for if we were doing an opposed thing, but just to show you what's happening in behind the scenes here.
Yeah, it makes sense. So they basically have an idea that we're there, but they have no clue
Right. I
like
mean,
we're
they are
actually.
theoretically there to like do all that, and basically probably what's happening in real life is there was just this fight over here, and then the commander might have told them to hold. It sounds to me like based on the intel report given to the blue guys that they intend on making a battalion level attack against Voljo, which probably means the commander told these guys to like stay there and guard that area, don't move until
Yeah.
I finish this.
All right. So building on that, let's fuck with their minds and use our assets to the best of our abilities. So here's how we're gonna do it.
You do
Uh,
have a mortar and artillery.
Yeah, we're going to use both. So what we're going to do is we're going to use mixed artillery calls, by which I mean a combined smoke and an AG. But we're not going to use them where you place them. We're going to try to fuck with their minds a little bit. So we're going to put them to the south of their position. No, we are going to hit them, but we're going to hit them south. So in other words, trying to make them think that we're coming from that area towards the south. So we're still gonna hit them, but we're just gonna hit them. So because when I do OPFOR, people tend to forget that when you put down smoke missions, it obscures your rate of advance, but it also tells me perfectly where you're gonna come from. People really seem to forget that.
Yep.
So in line with that, as our optics are better, I don't need the smoke, really. I need them to think I need the smoke. Hence why I'm going to place it to the southern part of their positions. Now, while that gets ready, I'm ordering my company to dismount, to sneak in the ATGM teams in positions on on the hills and areas to that. They should be well within range of, well, anything really, because we're in a 2 kilometer range here.
So you want the infantry to dismount now and then walk to 2 kilometers?
No,
Okay, so they'll dismount before the attack. They'll get in there.
I'll dismount the ATGMs because they are well within their engagement range and target envelope.
How about this? The action is you're moving to the assault. Their counter reaction is going to be they're going to fire back, and then the final reaction is going to be you're going to shoot, and the troops are going to are you going to have what are we going to do for?
Yeah, I just wanted to use the terrain and the fact that that effective engagement range for modern ATGMs is in the 2+ kilometer range.
All right. So do you want to have somebody stay back and fire? Again,
the ATGM team. There is really no point in having the ATGM team moving all the way up with the assault.
All right. So you have a weapons platoon that has ATGMs, and then what about the tanks?
Oh, they're gonna be in the attack along with the IFVs. All right. What else do I have?
So we'll start out with an attack from the ATGM.
Because it makes just to me zero sense that I would move, with full respect for the rules, a ATGM team into 800-meter range before I started engaging the enemies.
Right. So okay. So basically, your fire support. You got the artillery. You got mortars too.
Yeah. Once we go into the attack, I'm gonna switch the fire missions from confusing them to the south and hitting for effect in the ranks. So the preparatory barrage is to the south because they know we're there somewhere. So I'm trying to fuck them up mentally with thinking that we're going to come from the south. Once they spot us, there's no reach on point with subterfuge. Then we're going to use both mortars and howitzers.
All right, let me do a long-range attack, fire attack. From your standpoint, that's going to be fire combat. So it's 6 firepower factors at long range. And this is going against vehicles. And then let's take a look at, we're firing it to a target area. Yes, -1. It's not an ambush. Armored vehicles firing heavy weapons. Yes, that's -2. True quality is 5. Returning fire after, nope. Okay, so it's going to be a D10 -2. And the enemy target is, they're kind of
basically an open ground if you look at the...
They're in defend. Their orders are defend and delay, so it's going to be +1 for them.
Yeah.
So it's going to be a wash. Basically,
no. I have -2. They have -1.
They have -1. All right, so it's -1 for you. So okay, so here goes a roll. We'll see if it does anything. 7, so it's a 6. So suppression. S is suppressed, I think.
That's good enough.
Okay, so let me put an S on them.
That's the best I can ask for. So now they're suppressed, and
I mean, for long range, that's pretty good.
Yeah.
Oh, and the artillery, might as well. Let's get the artillery resolve that too. So that artillery is 155. That's at this range here. And again, fire support. There is a UAV involved. -2, 9, and 8.
That's not good.
It's not good, but it's more firepower being involved. So you got an 8 with let's see, this is
155.
Yeah. So it's 1, which means that you lose or they lose 1 FE, and then they have to take a morale check. So let's go and change that to a 9. Okay, and then a morale check. So their true quality, this is an airborne unit, so their true quality is 6. So
no, that's not an airborne. That's a scout, isn't it?
No, actually, it's actually mixed because originally it was an airborne unit there, but they did reinforce with some guys. So we'll call it.
Okay, yeah. Plus the Russia actually, regardless of how much you hate them, I think they're idiots. one of the only countries, if not the only country, that actually have substantial armored support for their
Yeah.
VDV.
Yeah, so they did drop BMD. So all right, so they have to roll an 8 to pass the morale check, and the roll is going to be a 9. So the artillery has broken them, which means this will be good. So they got hit by fire. They lost a guy. They lost one thing. Then the artillery is hitting them. Combat strength is has suppressed, broken. Must retreat 1 or 2 GSs in friendly area. TQ half while broken. Okay. So these guys are broken. In their reaction phase, they're gonna have to pull back.
And that is the signal for the full frontal attack. IVs, tanks. There's no point in waiting for the ATGMs to follow up. Or mount up, rather.
Okay.
So important point here is I don't want to move into Flanningen. I just want to destroy them if possible. And if not, then trick them to the point that they are combat ineffective. And I'll hit them with every single shoot we've got.
All right. So their reaction is to pull back. I would say because this is all happening sort of in real time, you will need to make basically a fire attack against them with the
Yeah.
tanks and stuff.
Yeah. Supported with indirect.
So let's go back to the fire attack, and again, it's like they hauled ass, so it'll be a 6, but it'll be minus. They're out in the open. Let me see. They're moving in open ground, so that's -1. And
I would submit
you
that
are
it's a non-tactical posture if they're broken as well.
-2. Armored vehicle with heavy weapons firing, yes, -3. And you are. Let me see. Hold on. Let me do this again. -1. Returning fire after having been engaged in same cycle. Yes. So it's +2. So it's like +1, -1, so back to 0, and non-tactical posture -1, and they're in the open. All right, so it's a -1. They're hauling ass. So let's roll again. A 2. Oh, that's crushing for them.
Very nice.
So that's going to be a 1. That is 2 more destroyed. And I think a second. Let me make another morale check because that will rout them if they fail this. They do pass that. So yeah, they pass
Too
that.
bad.
So they're still broken. And so they said they lost 2 more guys. That's good. So that puts them at 7. And let's change this to red. Okay, that brings us to noon. So I'm guessing that was. I mean, the enemy's going to continue to route to back to the bridges. I would say that ends this attack for now. What do you think? What's your post? Oh, hold on. Let me do something here. That's right.
I would push a little further forward for 2 reasons. One, to support the people involved, so there isn't so much separation between us. Second, and without getting fuck fever, when the enemy is broken, is the time to inflict maximum damage.
Right,
because the guy you don't kill today will try to kill you tomorrow.
Let me do something here. So this battle just got concluded here. So I'm going to roll a d6, and we're going to see how much the success is. I mean, this is certainly a success. Let me roll and see, how much leeway you have based on who knows what happened on the ground. So, and we're going to give a +1 because you have a hard charger commander. So I'm going to roll a d6, a 6.
Wow,
So,
+1.
Right. So straightforward success. You can proceed, do whatever you want to do. The enemy retreats towards their friendly lines, and they're in the process of doing that. And they're actually they actually can't go anywhere for 2 hours until they refit. So yeah, so you're able to move your guys wherever you want. Do you want them to go here where this woods is?
Yeah, let's go there.
Okay, all right.
Was Nike on his combat vehicle giving orders?
So we had a successful, essentially, it's like 12 o'clock our time.
Oh, I have bad news for you guys. They're getting crushed. So they lost the bridge. A third platoon from that company was sent back into the fight. They're trying to counterattack it now. It looks like they might be able to counterattack it, but I'm not sure. But
So,
Mibben is definitely taking control of Volsby.
well, here's the deal, and again, this is where maybe we could do a radio call to them now, because now we're within 2 kilometers of it. Basically, the second company came up. They found basically a company team in a blocking position. They called in artillery. They launched an assault. They defeated them with fire. These guys have been broken and they're moving back towards a bridge. And post battle, Nike made its role, so he's able to set up in this kind of wooded area here to where he wants for defense. The intention is not to go any farther, but we ought to be able to let them know, okay, hey guys, 2 companies here to, like, their rear is clear if they need to pull back or do whatever. Or
Yeah, I think
at
that
this
would
point
be
now,
the.
let's just say
I
you
think
could
they're.
send him a message. I don't know. Go ahead. What do you want to say?
No, I mean, let's let them fight it, and let's let that be the situation. I think
Okay.
the counter action is now for Nike. Do you want to go back into Volsjo, or do you want to establish a defense on the west side somewhere? But I don't want to tell them to do something because it just won't fit with what they're trying to do.
Yep.
So in line with my original plan, then to be honest, it would be nice to keep Vulture, but my plan was always to make a pincer moving from Franinge in the north, combined with one that bypasses the Osco River, going east of Vulture. So in fact, and with all due respect for their losses, to entice their Mibben, which I want to destroy to follow up this, then it might be good to let them think they've won a Vulture. What are their losses? And I mean, Redfall has ever just swept them aside, or
They've lost everything but 4 leopards that were reinforced from their third.
no. The up 4 side.
I'm not sure. Yeah, I'm not
Okay.
sure yet. I'm going to ask Ben
Okay.
what because I think that's important. But Los, I understand what you're trying to do here. I would take 2281 and move them back. Let's just let this play out, and let's excuse me.
Yeah,
Let's
that sounds good.
Yeah. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
No,
so
because I like what you're doing.
281 is parked here. Like, that's their intention was to clear this area and establish a battle position, but the enemy was here, so they cleared them out. So their intention was not to go across the bridge. That's where they've ended up.
So the enemy's
they're not
actually
right.
So Red 4 is actually pushed to where 2281 is right now. They have a platoon up there. So they were able to take that high ground exactly where 2281 is now. And I would say before we do our action reaction counter
Were they
action.
fighting over here?
Oh yeah, dude. I pushed them.
Fight in the city?
They did, but they got
gotcha.
enveloped. Yeah, they got enveloped in the north too.
So hold on, you're saying that they're here somewhere now, right?
So they're a little further south,
Okay.
and it's just a platoon. So they're trying to reinforce Volsjo. They're trying to counterattack Volsjo with a platoon that just showed up because they lost everything in Volsjo.
All right, so Nike, you would know that. You would know now that there's the other forces are within like 2 clicks of you, and they're fighting. There's some friendlies. You could probably recognize a leopard tank.
Well, obviously,
that
changes.
Sorry. I would just say, Los, I know this fucks with your timeline.
No, it doesn't. It doesn't.
But I would say move 2281 back to the LD and take this action. In fact, again, this is action reaction. This is counter action now for Nike. Let's let his action start at whatever happens in the scenario now. I don't know if they're going to be able to retain the bridges. They're fighting good and they're killing stuff, but they lost a lot.
How much time?
One, I would submit that one does not exclude the other. So basically, the combat 3281 is now combat ineffective. I have 2281 and I have 1281 in the south. So my original plan was to hit the Mibben from the north and the south, and that doesn't really exclude that. We've just wargamed the northern part.
Yeah, but
I mean,
the northern part is void because in game now there's forces that there's Red 4 that have occupied it. Like they own Franagen, yeah, I got that, but they've also pushed a platoon of they pushed their weapons platoon to exactly where that icon just was,
Yeah, well
and they
that.
push. That's a
yeah,
scout
but
platoon.
All right, well hold on. Let me just say something here. So first of all, let's look at the timing, right? So they kicked off at 10. This is about the time, like the length of this battle. We say like about an hour. What do you think?
Yeah, they haven't even. They've been going
All
for
right.
51 minutes because they started at like 10 on the dot.
Okay,
Yeah,
so basically, we started here shooting from here. We got to here. What these guys did was they came up here per their plan and assaulted and pushed this unit back. Now, I don't know if we're trying to like so hard tie this together because we're not really in a, this is really just a big fat test, all of this stuff. But I mean, we could either start right here
I say start
and
them
do
right there.
this,
Yeah, I say
or we could accept that like they got up here and did this per their
so.
plan.
So I mean, here's what I think is fair to this war game.
Okay.
So in the next few minutes, I think we're going to understand what the outcome in Volsjo is. If they are wiped out, I think that would change Nike's plan because he doesn't have friendlies in front of him anymore. He would have I think your North AG there, your Nord AG is accurate to current. So they've pushed west of Franagen to exactly where that 7th NORAG icon is. So that's accurate, but whatever happens in Volsjo is going to change. It would change my decision if I was moving 2281 because we don't know if we're going to have friendlies in Volsjo or not. Because right now they only have that company's down to a platoon.
All right. Well, let me ask you something then, Nike. All right. So, and again, understanding that we had a fairly heavy EW environment that precluded any coordination between these forces, and these guys made their decisions based on an absence of what was going on here. However, as you get closer, you are getting within like a couple of clicks of where these guys might be. You might be able to raise them. Either way, you hear heavy fighting pretty close to you guys up here. Do you want to now try also? We did one test. You want to try and wargame it out from here, just to see what happens?
well, maybe. I mean, we did the war game, and I won the battle in the north. I would submit, but given the information that APOC is saying, instead of getting ahead of ourselves and trying to war game, let's put it on a hold. Let's put a
Right.
tag in it right there,
Okay.
and then we'll war game once I know if I've
Okay.
got
Yeah,
no.
yeah.
Because we are testing this out. That's the whole point of this.
Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely,
but
yeah.
we're I mean we're grown people and we're
Yeah.
all we know what we're doing. So so let's put a tag in it right here. Let's do the war game in a follow-up session, so we don't like we did just now, starting to
Okay. So we'll
to
say,
move counters that's already
yeah.
been moved by other
All right.
Yeah.
So
ships.
So
we'll say
here's
it's 11 o'clock, and this is the
because
situation.
here's the problem, right? And again, it's not fair to Nike if we're like, hey, you just war game this thing out. No. Here's the problem he's going to have is if this thing doesn't work out well in Volsjo, like that Mibin in reality would keep pushing. And if it was me, I wouldn't commit 2281 to the north because there's nothing up there now. And now you're
Yeah, I concur.
right. So like, let's just see. I agree, Nike. Let's see what happens in Steel Beast. And
and let's save it as is here, and then revisit it either later today or some day during the weekend. So we do a separate wargaming session and all Steel Beast session for that. That incidentally also makes it fun because we now have what constitutes a Steel Beast mini campaign.
Now,
I
from the
also
red standpoint, like the red battalion is their job is still to like establish this bridgehead and expect that the rest of the brigade comes up through here. So this attack that you're gonna the 282 attack is, and also your the 1500 attack to come through here is going to resolve this other force that's coming this way.
Yeah, and that's my point. My the overall sort of super tactical or plus tactical. I wouldn't call it strategic, but the overall battle still makes sense. My battle plan still makes sense. I just have to, in line with what APOC says, have to adjust the northern part in light of the recent events because I maybe was overly enthusiastic and or positive and or hopeful with regards to the ability of my relatively limited forces in Volscia to hold the enemy.
Okay.
So it's not a catastrophe. How does it go in the series? It's not great. It's not terrible. So let's save it here.
So Los, I think there's actually two ways we can approach this, which I think now that I'm thinking about this is fucking cool. So we could push 2281 to where Nike wanted to and just say exactly what we knew now is, well, we didn't know what was going on in Volscia. We just assumed, right? The fog of war said, hey, 3281 has got it. They're going to hold Volscia and I'm going to commit 2281 to the north. Now I think if we wanted to just play it out, and I'm thinking about this, we could play it out and it's a cool situation now. It's like, hey, Mibben's in the middle. They control Volscia. We didn't know. We committed a company. Now that company's stuck up north,
Right.
Out west of Franigen. What the hell would we do?
From the Red Commander's standpoint, and knowing that, like, you remember how we made these like 3 courts of action and we came up with a percentage of what would be potentially the Reds doing. Like, from my standpoint, if I'm the Red Commander and I've just determined, when we rolled, okay, he's good, hard charging, he's going to go right into the attack here. Now all of a sudden, it's looking good, but now we get to report that North AG has just been
Yeah,
ran
yeah,
entirely
yeah,
on
yeah,
fire.
yeah.
So
Yeah.
now, what does the Red Commander do? This would be like, it would be good to have somebody who's like the Red
That is
Commander just
exactly
Okay. All
the
right. All
mindset
right.
I'm
So
trying to get Red
yeah,
4 into. I'm getting him into the mindset that he now has to contemplate that I charge from Nord G through Freninger, enveloping from the north, while at the same time pushing up with battalion from the south, and thus he risks complete annihilation. That's the
what I
mindset I
liked,
want to get him into.
also, Nike, what I liked about the past hour or so is like a couple times you're like, I'm doing this, like I'm gonna have the artillery and smoke hit them from the southeast, so it looks like we're coming that way. Like, you're taking into account the enemy's commander's mind, because you are fighting the enemy commander more than just their tanks. You know what I mean? Like, whereas normally a war game would be like, oh well, how many factors are here and this and that. Like, playing against the enemy's commander's mind, like in this case, yeah, he probably could kick our ass. He's got enough forces, but he doesn't know all this shit, and he's probably worried about things. So taking that into account is good in these types of situations.
I vote. I vote. I redact everything I said. I think you push 2281 where you had them. Push north. Push their advance guard back, and whatever happens. Because here's the thing: you guys didn't talk to the dudes playing Steel Beast, so this is the situation. We committed a company without knowing the situation involves Joe. You guys made assumptions like we would in real life,
Yeah.
and whatever happens now involves Joe. Which personally, I think there's going to be a red icon there and not a blue icon. This is the situation. I
Here.
think.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we don't know we don't. I haven't checked in with them. I'm not watching
And
their
it would
stream.
be, I would submit, easy to adjust the results you say in Steel Beast with regard to here, namely that we annihilated that single platoon coming up to assist Nordag. It's not a lot, and with the force raid against them and the roles and the war games we had here, that would make sense that we destroyed that platoon, but only that platoon. So they got their noses punched twice, really,
I would
in the
hope that
north.
these guys could take this position, and they got the power. They got a hard charging CO.
It sounds like it's a
Yeah.
done deal. So let's just go with it for now.
Yeah, no, it's good. No, this is great. It's great. Yeah, I told Bob to just before if they quit anytime soon, just we need to know the red force strength because I don't know if that's going to be a full Mibben left anymore. They were killing stuff. I mean, they got their faces punched pretty hard. I don't know how much they've killed. So,
I
but
think
yeah, this is
My
going to
hope is that they degraded them and treated them enough for it to be feasible for me to do what I always planned, namely counterattack where I fix them in the middle and do a pincer movement, so bypass and encircle them from the rear to the north and the south. That was always my plan.
All right. Well, why don't we pop into their thing now?
My only thing, Nike, is you have your plan. I'm not sure it's synchronized against what the enemy's trying to do, right? So I
Yeah,
know you.
exactly. That's why this makes sense that we adjust to what actually happens. And but I mean, I'm. It's like when I do awful, I don't cheat. So it is what it is. I react to what I see. I use my intuition and the plan to the best of my ability. Sometimes I'm right, sometimes I'm not. But it's you know, at some point you have to make a choice. Either way, you can't just keep postponing the choices.
Yeah, I'm saying in real life though, you would know like, hey, their plan is they're going to move on the capital. I don't. I'm not saying trying to hit their flank on the right is a bad idea. It's going to cause some sort of problem. But no, that's fine. You know what?
Yeah, I
This
mean,
is
I
fun.
think
This is
your
great.
intent,
Wow, great.
Nike's
Well,
intent was to like put a blocking position into Ostrava because that
Yeah,
D41 dangerous, and
yeah,
then also
yeah.
it sort of blocks also the A13 north south. So I mean, I mean that's a logical move for the brigade commander because especially if the enemy is trying to
yeah,
push
and
in.
also I am. If we just role play it, I am in a critical situation where I
Right.
have too little forces to do too many tasks, and with impossible odds stacked against me, and with the rather large sword hanging over my head that if I fuck up, the route to the capital is somewhat open.
Right, because
So
Sojo is a little bit of one of the probably main
That's
objectives of the enemy.
absolutely an objective. Yeah, it's like a regional hub, man. So
So,
yeah,
and these anyway. So look, you guys want to jump over to the other channel
yeah.
now?
Let's go see
yeah,
where they're going. Yeah,
Okay.
one of the assumptions I think you guys tried planning off of that hill to the north, and I think we need to name this ridge at this point because it's a pretty good ridge. You can see headquarters 2-1 infantry icon up there. So again, there is a para brigade that was air assaulted into the area. There's no way in hell they're giving up that ridge. That ridge is key terrain to the area, and I think we
yeah,
learned that pretty quick when they started firing AT-GEMs at you from there. So in the north, they have a foothold still. We've had Red 4 initially took it. They seized it very rapidly, but then they were kicked out by our tank company. And then we had the Mibin attack. But they had forces, they had paras on the outskirts of the village that never retreated because why? Why would they retreat? You had paras in the south. You can see there too, headquarters 2-2 and 2-4. 2-4's mission was to guard those bridges in the area. And then 2-2, like I said earlier, was a probing attack onto Valsjobi and Valsjo. Because again, just because the situation changed slightly, the Paras still had the mission of seizing the bridges, and they're still going to do that, I guess. Yeah, you could start seeing. So initially, their scout platoons start moving out. Their scouts are going to move along all three axes, right? Like I said, in the north, that scout platoon is going to try to envelop our entire task force. They want to continue pushing as far west as Franigen as they can. And then the two scout platoons you see on the northern and the eastern axis are just providing scout. You guys got the brunt of it, so you can see there's extra tank platoons with those scouts now. So that was like the most dangerous course of action as they'd reinforce. Up north, you see the weapons platoon. So the battalion does have a weapons platoon, and they are moving to where do you think they're going to move? They're going to move on top of that big ass ridge, and they're going to start
yeah,
firing ATGMs at you. Enemy smoke screens start going in across the entire front based on reports from the scouts. In the south, you have two squads of enemy paras that are going to start probing your lines. And now you start seeing the bulk of the Mibins going in. So you have 1st Battalion in the north, elements of 1st Battalion, elements of 1st Battalion in the east. These are platoons of 6 that kind of represent understrength companies. But you can see they're starting to move out. Like I said, they would hit you simultaneously along both axes. And it looks like one of our companies is stuck up north. That's fine. Weapons platoon is deployed in the north. They have ATGMs out, ready to shoot at you. One error here is the civilians are not evacuating. That's fine. I fixed that while we were playing. I'm waiting for the third. Your scouts are taking indirect fire from the ridge. I'm waiting to see when the third company is going to spawn in. But either way, you guys are in contact. You're being fixed from the north and fixed from the east. You took casualty. You took at this point, I think two tanks were destroyed. Several were put out of action as mobility or firepower kills. I would say those two Mibin companies are doing their job fairly well. You are inflicting casualties, which is great. but your limited combat power to begin with is already suffering from that. Okay.
And
So
let's
Los,
also assume that 75% of the civilians that
Yeah.
wanted to leave the town got out in the middle of all the fighting too. So you did
Yeah.
save some civilian lives.
Yeah, there you go.
And yeah, and I think we would have got more out had the bridges worked right, because that just got our transport bogged down.
Yeah.
It actually wasn't the bridges, it's the vehicle. So sidebar
Right.
conversation, we'll talk about that. But overall mission, I think, again, the planning was good. You guys were thinking about the right things. I think we got stuck up on some minor training points in Steel Beast, how to divvy out vehicles, who's got what, right? Overall, good planning, execution. I think you just paid for it there. And I think that's all I have. So I'll pause for any questions, and I'll just turn it over to Tanky.
Nice, yeah. No, I think I misinterpreted the sort of when I'd expect to be running into the enemy. As we bumped into them quite quickly, which caught us off guard. The idea behind putting our guys quite far forwards was that we could slow them down and pull them back and wait for the reinforcements or reserves to kick in. But obviously we got caught off quite quickly, so that didn't really play out. So we quite quickly changed tactic to closing into the town onto the blue line and finding close-in areas where we were far enough away from the civilian population, but also close enough to actually have some protection.
What I'm seeing here is that you whittled them down to less than a company. That is no small feat.
I mean, I see, looking at her screen now, I see a platoon that's retreated, a platoon potentially in the north, a platoon just north of Valsjo, and then a platoon, right there.
Yeah, I said, about a company's worth left, give or take.
That's pretty good. So destroyed 2 out of the 3 companies.
So essentially, and Nike chime in whatever. This was the situation that we knew at the time, and again, there was no coordination or comms between 281st Battalion and you guys up in Voljo. That's due to the heavy EW environment and the strikes. But one company was ready at 11 o'clock, and Nike's plan was to basically proceed west of the A13 and attack Ostrava and establish a blocking position. And we came up with some quick phase lines of basically what every half-hour move would be like, in the intent. The first half hour went fine. We started hearing the fighting. Now at 11 o'clock, your battle started at 10. So essentially at 10, an APOC came in here and he gave us a heads up. But basically, you guys were somewhere right around here, and we could hear the fighting and everything going on here. The intention was to continue the attack north. So this was a little out of sync, but the way we decided was like this is something that probably would occur. Though these guys got up to here, to the intersection. All right, so these guys got up to here, and then Nike called in artillery. They did. We deployed the drone. We got this identified that this enemy company-sized element was here. Got the drone out. We called in artillery, and then on the south side did a support by fire. Nike laid out very rapid, like, here's the scheme of my maneuver. He put the weapons platoon behind, the tanks fired, and then the assault went forward. The fire and the artillery was enough to cause enough casualties to break this force and have it moving. Then combined with the assault, once the assault got in here, they were able to retreat it some more. And these guys basically are like a force that's lost about, at least a third of their strength and hauled us back towards the town. Also, then we did a little initiative thing, so we were able to pick exactly where we wanted to set up on defense. So basically, this is the scenario at noon.
So the really interesting perspective for me is what I'm seeing now is that we succeeded better than I expected in the north. I had too high expectations given the force arrays because you did very, very well. I mean, you lost Volsjo, but you broke the enemy MIP in doing it. He now has one company left. So I'll now have a company force to the north, facing what is basically a decimated enemy company in disarray vicinity Franninge. They do hold Volsche, but they only hold it with the sort of the very tip of their nails, where my overall plan was always to fix them in the center and then envelop them from the north via Franninge and south, crossing the Oslo River and coming up that way. So it's really interesting situation we have now. It was interesting to begin with, and it's maybe even more interesting now, because do I then now leave the platoon minus in west of Volsche holding up an enemy company, or do I reorient my company from the north instead of going for Farninge, then maybe going for a counterattack towards Volsche? And how do I tie that in with the other units? It's a very interesting situation, really interesting wargaming, this whole thing, I have to say.
So the intention is that at per the last orders of brigade at 1500, which is 3 hours from now, the rest of the battalion in Sojo, I know it says company, but is slated to make an attack in this direction. Because if you remember our first call, their other brigade is the other enemies are off to the right here. So if you think about it from the red standpoint, now the red commander's job is to like establish a bridgehead over the river, so we believe. So I mean, he's got the bridges, but no matter how successful he is here, the fact that this blocking position is pushed back is going to cause him problems on like, what do I need to do to reestablish my blocking positions up here? And he's relying on the other 2 battalions in the brigade to come up, but they're sort of dicking around 5 or 6 miles in the rear right now, and actually getting ready to face their own counterattack. So neither side is particularly 100% happy at like what their situation is, and this is again another set of interesting decisions that will have to be made. So the Reds are not having as easy a time as one would think either.
No, I mean, they're not getting past like their first phase line.
Right.
They're stuck on. Well, I mean, let's put it in perspective though. They're just having problems in this sector. Other sectors have been a little successful in seizing bridges.
That's
it's just
right.
This center sector now.
Exactly. This could be the greatest victory in history, but if something happens north or south, it could cause the retreat of the whole line. And since the Loscon guys know that this campaign, we fought some winter battles, that this thing's going to go on for a little while.
Yeah, and just to add to that, my overall objective was not just a military one for when Los and I walked him down. It was also political. I wanted to destroy this brigade. I wanted to send enough body bags home to facilitate a political discourse, and if nothing else, then give a shock to the morale of the enemy, facilitating an easier battle to both the north and south of here. So it wasn't just for sure shits and giggles that I said they are the battalion combat group to the south to destroy order. It is actually to facilitate follow-up operations and political goals.
Right, and when I do like that Nike, he's also taking into account the mindset of the enemy commander when he's making his plans, and as a GM, it's easy to like take consider those effects in the outcome of the mission, or the outcome of any given situation, and I like that because it's it's one thing to do the numbers on how many tanks are fighting each other in penetration, but both sides don't really know everything that's going on, and depending on the quality of the commanders, they may or may not press on the way you would think. They may say like, I'm going to call it quits here. Now, I did hear something about maybe the Red Battalion commander was killed.
I don't think you stand by.
And if that's the case, like that commander is a good commander, and if he's out, we'll have to roll up another commander and see what quality he is, or how that goes. So this impacts like
he lived, he survived.
All right, okay, so yeah, whenever we task organize a different subunit or a unit, it rolls rolls whether or not like he was in a battle and he was injured, it could result in a shittier or a better commander coming into play. And these impact, like when we did our attack up here, Nike wanted to push forward a little bit more, and I'm like, well, we did a roll on our post battle analysis, and he used his initiative, and they said, yep, you could do what you want. Otherwise, it might have been like we were successful, but we took too many prisoners or something, and there's a delay of a half hour or an hour.
Wait, what? We didn't agree on taking prisoners.
No, I'm sure that the Arnlanders are in no mood right now for such things. All right.
No. Yeah. Go.
Anyway, I was just going to say, so this is like, we were testing out how to conduct kind of multiple actions and tie them together. Again, this is all part of our test to see how we could bring our gaming to the next level. And
it's really, really interesting. I think it tied up really well. The situation is kind of like, what I'm seeing is my mind's eye. It's like two boxers who simultaneously tries to throw a knockout punch, because up 4 won Volsche, but they pay for it. We won in the north. Didn't really pay for it, but the victory in the north was not as important or big as the one in the south. So it's
right.
Yeah, 2 steps forward and 1 step back.
So we greatly appreciate everybody's participation, and hopefully, as these go forward, we'll try and make the scenarios, they'll run smoother and they'll be clearer, like what's going on, and everybody will have an understanding of like what's at stake. So there's like more of like a little bit of a role-playing bent to things here, and that then it creates interesting tactical decisions that can inform our, leadership or just wargaming training.
Yeah, I really like it, Lars. It's a great campaign. Just looking through your stuff on your Discord as well, it's cool. I just wish I had more free time.
Yeah.
I mean, we're so slowly stripping away. This rule set is based on what the Ministry of Defense, the British use, the Camberley wargaming system,
Right.
and a lot of it is built towards like red and blue opposed lieutenants having to like write down like 50 pages of like synchronization matrices. So we're kind of trying to strip a lot of that away to make what's a useful tool here, and there are some other even more interesting tools that I've seen. But we'll eventually get to something where the meat and potatoes of this is like the discussion over the tactical stuff more than it is over whether we consulted the right table for something.
Yeah, and you guys, a bunch of you have been here for a minute. You've seen Crisis in Denovia, Excalibur, all the ops we've done, Cast Malice, and then Devolver recently. It's just that stuff's not sustainable. It's fun to do. It's just we're like Los is exploring ways where we can quickly resolve actions over a map. We can still include all the planning aspects of that and the action. And then guys like me can just continue to produce scenarios like I'm an AI robot that just produces scenarios apparently. But we can still pick and choose like fun actions that we want to fight out. And then, we can use groups like you as guinea pigs to say, hey, how did that thing at Volsjo go? How would that go? Right. So,
there's nothing to say that like, wow, like the rest of the army is 10 miles up the road in D41, and maybe that's where we need to do a A10 strike that then Bob designs in DCS. So
yes, please.
So it's like all that kind of cool stuff. But we're trying, rather than like having laid it all out and there's an immense amount of work that goes into this. It's a lot easier to do spot scenarios like APOC says, and also then the story is interesting enough to like you're motivated to like really jump and do that one piece, and then okay.
And you're only choosing interesting scenarios, so you're not
playing
a boring movement to contact with an inferior force that would be easy.
Like there's 2 or 3 big battles that are going to have to be done, like not big battles, but other battles between the 281st at 1500, and then there's another one at 1800, another battalion.
Yeah.
Those could be done with the TDG tool with a couple of rolls, and even there are some even more fast resolution tools. So that way, like but something cool happened out of that, then we'll go and deal with it.
Yeah, the missing platoon or whatever.
Right.
The cut off guys or
like maybe like in Arma DRO, we have like 8 or 9 of us have to like E&E back across the map, and we come across the enemy brigade headquarters, and that would be a cool story. All right, well, thanks everyone.
Yeah, cheers guys.
From my optic, thank you, and thank thank Loscon for hosting this and APOC for making the scenarios. I think this is really, we're really seeing a step forward here from what we've done. And I've been hosting Canium sessions for some years now. And this is really a step forward. So thanks for stepping up. Thanks for making that transition and for